Thanks so much, everyone, for being here on this Friday afternoon. Campus sort of turned into a ghost town pretty fast, so I'm really glad to see a full room here. My name is Neil, and I'm talking about Zidisha and my experience in Kenya this spring doing peer-to-peer microfinance. And so I thought to myself, well, what can I do that will kind of stick with you with my presentation? Because I can just talk about my work, but I wanted to really do something that would stick with you. And so to do that, I thought maybe I can change how you think. Because going to Africa for me for the first time, I thought that we've really been told this singular narrative about Africa, right? We've been told that it's a place of poverty, it's a place of disease, it's a place of violence. And this doesn't really match with my experience on the ground, and I think that if you ask most Africans, this isn't what they would define themselves as. And so today I wanted to tell some stories that really showcase prosperity, peace, and health. And these, I think, are really what are emerging out of Africa. I also wanted to change how you think about development. Because for so long, development has kind of felt like a bunch of people with money and power, and they're kind of out there blindly acting and dumping a bunch of resources on countries and pulling a lot of political strings, and they're not doing a whole lot up there. But I think an emerging paradigm that we're seeing is that development has come to be defined more by building capacity, by strengthening institutions, and by grassroots development. And so I think that the West can support the developing world in this role, but we're no longer going to be the central actor. It's going to be about locals. And last, I wanted to change how you think about money, especially in the development space, because we've seen that money, you give it to an NGO, and maybe you don't know where it goes. Maybe it does some good, maybe it doesn't. One government gives it to another, and it feels like it goes just right down a drain, right? And that's sort of the old paradigm. And also, we kind of face maybe a false choice between doing good with our money and getting a return on our money. But that's no longer the case. With websites such as Zidisha, you're now able to have a direct impact on all of these 4 borrowers' lives, for example, these gentlemen living on the coast of Kenya. And you're also able to do good by doing well, so to speak, get a return on your investment. And so Zidisha, I first learned about this U.S. nonprofit a little over a year ago from the School of Business, just sitting in on a Francie Milner social entrepreneurship class. And I heard the founder of Zidisha present her idea. And if you're familiar with kiva.org, it's a similar model, but what they've done is innovate on microfinance such that now Kiva has copied their idea and is trying to do the same thing. So when my practicum came up, I was thrilled that I was able to work with them. And so Zidisha is a web platform that lets you lend money with interest directly to individuals in developing countries, okay? And what's really cool about this is the individual in that country says, I'm willing to repay a loan at X% interest, and then you could fund them at that level or below. So pretty cool model. And it's just very direct right to them. It was started by Julia Kernia in 2009. She was inspired by Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat, which talks about leveling the economic playing field using technology. And it was designed to help the world's poorest places with access to low-cost capital. My work with Zidisha, I was a client relationship manager in Kenya, and I was able to serve, orient, and train a variety of individuals. I assisted with arrears follow-up, and I identified and organized and trained volunteer mentors who are increasingly becoming our staff on the ground, our unpaid staff on the ground. Very importantly, Julia told me at the outset that Zidisha needs human faces. And if you think of this kind of amorphous technology platform, cloud thing, you really want a human face to connect that with. And so I'm not the only face of Zidisha, but I was very proud to be a face for Zidisha. And last, I was able to provide feedback kind of on a constant basis to Julia and the upper leadership of Zadisha about their use of technology, their policies, and a variety of issues. And they always welcomed this feedback, and they often acted on it immediately, which was really, really gratifying to see. But going into the field, I asked, what's going to be my biggest impact? What are my big deliverables, if anything? And both Revi and Julia said that my biggest impact was really going to be intangible, and that I would have to be very comfortable with ambiguity and with kind of acting in gray space. I want to tell a story just really, really briefly about my friend Duncan. This man is very dear to me, but we were up late one night and discussing his application with Zadisha, and I said, so Duncan, how can you communicate best with Zadisha? And I said, can you use email? And he said, no, I can't use email. I said, what about SMS? You seem to be, you sent me a few SMSs in the last few weeks. And he said, yeah, I can SMS. I said, okay, well, let's SMS Zadisha together and ask about the status of your application. And so, we pull out our phones and I start typing, and he said, whoa, you're typing really fast. Like the words are appearing really fast. And so, how come is that? And I said, oh, well, I just have my phone on T9 prediction. So based on what I type and what the order, it's going to predict what I'm saying, right? And so he said, I don't really believe you. This seems like magic. This is weird. And so I said, no, it's not magic. Let me put your phone on T9 Swahili prediction. And now type for me, type 52626. And that spells jambo, hello, in Swahili. And so he did this, and he was kind of, a little bit in disbelief at first. But after about an hour or so, I had him starting to text quite a bit more quickly. And I thought that was just a really cool story to share with you about how development, at least in my mind, doesn't always have to be about these big, really expensive projects, but it can be really small, little moments like that. And I think those have maybe more impact sometimes. Another story I wanted to share is this is Colette, and she was one of my first borrower visits in Nairobi. And I called her, and I was pretty nervous. I said, hi, this is Neil with Zadisha. I want to come visit your business. And she said, okay. Can you imagine that, someone just calling you on the phone? And yeah, come on over. And so she and her family gave me a very warm karibu sana. You're very welcome. I took a few hour-long bus rides and finally met her, and she does sewing and embroidery. And so with her Zadisha loan, she was able to buy a third sewing machine, and now her mother is able to sew in addition to she and her sister. And with the extra income that this brings in, as well as her being able to teach sewing classes with her new sewing machine, it was going to pay off her loan in about 3 months and then provide income for the rest of the life of the machine. So really good investment on her part. They were just so nice to me. This is Jacqueline. Jacqueline works in a large market in Nairobi. And this is her friend Agre, who works in a stall right next to her. And so they have these neighboring stalls in this very large market, and they're selling women's clothing, okay? And so I contacted them, and I visited them and said, we talked about their business and had a couple of good hours chat there. And I said, okay, thanks so much for sharing your business. Let's go to the cyber cafe and let's do an orientation. You've only been a borrower with Zadisha for about a month, and let's talk about some of the things about your account and the long-term implications of this. And so we went to a cyber cafe, and I said, okay, so who's comfortable using the computer? And Agre said, oh, I'm comfortable. And I said, how about you, Jacqueline? Are you comfortable using the computer? She said, not very comfortable. And so I said, okay, Jacqueline, you are going to sit at the computer, and you are going to use the keyboard, and you are going to use the mouse. And Agre, you can help her, but you can only point at things, and you can only give advice. You can't do anything for her. And this kind of became my mantra throughout my time there, that you can't do something for someone else and expect them to be picking up the skills. They really have to kind of do it themselves, I think. And so this is another really good picture that I like, just kind of showing how I would like development to work, which is locals helping locals, and maybe they're interacting with a foreign website, but it's not really me doing the work for them at all. Just really briefly, this is Ruth. She contacted me, actually. She called me kind of out of the blue and have no idea how she got my number. But she said, I need you to come down to my business. I need you to see my daycare nursery, and I need you to help me apply for a loan because I really want this money to grow my nursery. So I did, and she was super passionate about her daycare. And she had like all these cute little children, and she had a couple different teachers, and so she really wanted to grow this. And so I brought my laptop, and she was applying for about an hour, and you can kind of see her intense focus on the application there, and she didn't really notice me getting kind of close up in her face and taking pictures. So that's how focused she was, and that was really cool to see. Going into the field, you're always going to have unforeseen challenges. There are times when you're going to have your advisor hovering over you, pulling at you with a cane. So you're going to have unforeseen challenges. One of the big ones for Zadisha is that there are, as we saw with Jacqueline and Agri, people would kind of really do a lot of the tech work and a lot of the legwork for them to get their loan. And this kind of makes them dependent in the long run. Access, this opens the question of access. Is Zadisha, historically, it was targeted just for computer users, or is Zadisha going to become an open line of credit to all? It's been trending to this, which is really kind of cool to see. We recently opened up to our loans to everyone, regardless of credit history, which I don't know of anyone else doing that. Communications, one thing that I'm very proud of is that I helped enact change from almost purely email system to not purely, but very heavily SMS-based communication system now. So people are actually getting our messages, which is really great, and they can respond. What's next? I'll continue working with Zadisha and learning from them. A possible partnership with ICTD lab class is a distant possibility. And just to wrap things up, I want to say thank you so much to Revi, who wore a million different hats as mentor and teacher and challenger and friend and confidant, and that's not an easy position to have, so thank you. Julia, the founder of Zadisha, was amazing and just constantly open to my insights and thoughts and ramblings, and she gave me a very long leash. My family and friends supported the heck out of me, and I could feel just kind of the love from everyone kind of glowing off. So yeah, thank you so much.